Nice try, Sonia.
Just going to start admitting everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yes. I'm just going to give another 2 minutes for folks to join us, and then we'll be ready to start. If you'd like, while we're waiting, you can introduce yourself in the chat, and that way everybody will know who's here and get to see each other. Mhm. I'll be right back just a sec. All right. Well, it's good to have everyone here. Again, if you haven't had a chance, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. My name is Jeff Ross, and I am the president of the board. I'm so glad that you all could make some time to be with us this evening. We're going to start with a moment of silence, and I'll close that with a prayer, and then we'll be ready to go from there. Please note that we are recording this so that we can share it with other folks who are not able to join us tonight, and because I imagine they'll have some of the same questions you will. So let's just take a deep breath and a contemplative pause, and after some silence, we'll begin. Lord, we cannot wait for days without tears, for days with enough food for all, for days of radical hospitality, for days when love is freely offered and warmly received. Lord, we cannot wait. So until that day, give us grace to comfort others. Give us courage to seek justice. Give us opportunities to serve others. And take away our fears so that we may live in your unconditional love. In God's holy name we pray. Amen. Again, thank you for joining us. If you haven't had a chance to already, please introduce yourself in the chat. My name is Jeffrey Ross, and I am the current president of the board. And it's a privilege to be with you this evening. We are recording this so that we can share it with folks later. And we're going to give time for you to ask us questions. I would ask that if you do ask a question, that you allow some space for others to ask questions before you jump in with another question. There's more than 50 people signed up to be with us tonight, and I do want to give everyone a chance to be able to share a question that's on their heart. Before we go any further, I do want to introduce Pam Leland, who is our acting executive director. She's the one with the jazz hands who was just waving to you a second ago. And Pam has jumped in with both feet and is hit the ground running, as it were. Of course, we're joined by Jackson Droney, who's also our on staff at Shalem, and Pat Franklin, who is the treasurer of the board. And I think there are a few other board members in our midst. Also here is Sonia Stam, who is our consultant for the search process. So as you know, I hope you've seen in the annual report and the letters that each member of the board has been sending out to keep you in the loop as we're moving to this time. That we're in this liminal space as we have had an opportunity to celebrate Margaret's tenure and the 10 years that she has given to leading Shalem, and now as we are taking a deep contemplative breath and creating some space to move through this time of transition, to have some time for contemplative prayer, to have some time to discern the movement of the Spirit and where Shalem is called to be next, and what we will need in our new executive director, and what we as an organization want to continue to hold on to and celebrate, and what new opportunities there are for us ahead in the future. So it is really a gift to serve with the other 10 people who are on the board. They represent a great cross section of the Shalem community, both folks who've been involved for a long time and short time, both people who are chronologically gifted and those who are chronologically not as gifted, those who are ordained and not ordained, those who are working in congregational settings and those who are working in other settings, and those who are just professionals in other fields. So it is a wonderful board, and we have really benefited from the gifts that we've been able to share with each other through this time. So I think that was all I was supposed to say, except to ask that if you have a question, to please raise your hand, and Pam will recognize you, and we'll be happy to field that question. Tonight, we are just doing the Shalem Society. In the future, we'll be opening these up to everybody. But we wanted to start with the Shalem Society first because of your long track record of deep care and love for the Shalem community and for all that Shalem has done throughout its 50 years. You all have been a major part of that, and we recognize that, and we want to make sure that we gave you first crack, as it were, to be able to ask questions that have come to you or things that you want to share at this time. So I think that's all I have to say to open us up. So take a deep breath, and if you have a question, raise your hand, and supposedly Zoom will be able to make sure that we see your hand is up and we can call on you. Linda?
I figure out how to unmute myself. Yes. I am Linda Kafurch, and I presently reside in Annapolis, affectionately known as Naptown. And I had a question about partnerships for the future. I know that in the past, there's been a deep relationship between Shalem and Bon Secours. And I don't know about the relationship between Shalem and, for example, for an example, the Contemplative Outreach of Metropolitan Washington. So I just wondered, for the future going forward, would there be a vision towards deepening those partnerships that already exist, as well as creating new ones?
Thank you, Linda. That's a wonderful question. And already in the preliminary work that Sonia has done with us, that has emerged as one of the growth potentials for the future of Shalem. We have certainly benefited from a close relationship with Bon Secours over the years. Unfortunately, everybody else has discovered Bon Secours, and it's getting difficult for us to always be able to get in there when we want to be in there. But that is a great relationship that we've had, and certainly there are other opportunities for us in this moment of discernment. I think an important part of that is first to be able to identify the unique gifts that Shalem has to offer, and then to see what organizations might be interested in partnering and benefiting from what we can share with them. So, for instance, I know others have said, I didn't hear the quote, but I've heard it several times, that Richard Rohr called Shalem the gold standard in spiritual direction. And so I think we certainly have an excellent program in training for spiritual directors. And there might be a possibility for us to be able to partner with some of the organizations you mentioned, but also other things. Like there's a wonderful new young adult contemplative community that started up at the cathedral in Long Island that is doing some great things. There are also new possibilities, I'm sure, that will emerge as transition goes on down at the with Richard Rohr's group and as Brian McLaren comes to the fore. So I think there are also possibilities for us to be able to cross-pollinate with other organizations. And we'll certainly be looking for that in the new executive director who comes on board, someone who has that kind of vision that she or he can offer us. Pat, did you want to add to this, or did you have another question? Pat, I think you're
You're on
muted.
mute.
Sorry, I had a thought that relates to this question, so it wasn't
Sure.
to interrupt you in any way.
No, please.
My thought was that um, in many ways, one of the central questions that we've put before us is about the role of programs. And why I mention that is not to diffuse the question, but just saying the programs are the core and the gift that I see, so warmly received across our community. And the resources we need to nurture those and offer people the benefits of those are both virtual and in person. So, in many ways, I think what I've been thinking about and what I see in the questions that we'll be sitting with at the upcoming March retreat is really about programs and who would be called to lead, to refine retain and grow the strength that we have, identify others, and then secondarily say now who would partner with us on those programs and what resources would we need, another residential facility, another area of the country, a downtown DC, presence, that kind of thing. So that's not to distract from the question, but just to think, just wanted you to know that is one core question that I read in the, in preparation for our retreat.
If I may step in just to add, if you're not aware, the practice has been for the board and staff to meet on a retreat together in March of each year. So Pat was referencing the kinds of questions that will be part of the conversations we'll be having at that time. I think Winston, Charles, you wanted to ask a question, and I wanted to make sure Jeff was aware of that.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, thank you. And Jeff and Pam and members of the board, thank you all for all the work you've done and you will be doing. I thought one would be helpful if you could just give a little overview of the process of calling the next executive director, where we are now and how that might unfold, and how we might be a part of that if it's appropriate. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Winston. It's always good to see you. I hope all is well down in North Carolina, and that your golf game is not suffering too much from the winter rules. So we have been working in earnest with Sonia since last June, and she has been helping us to identify what the board understands and knows about Shalem, as well as what we feel called to from the community. And there were questionnaires that she developed that went out, and we asked everybody to submit and share those with Shalem. Those were all tabulated and gave us even more information. And now, in these next few months, we're going to be designing the process, and hopefully the process will launch right after the board retreat in March. So putting together that design, I do have to say that we are probably going to have a slightly different process than we have in the past, which is to say that it will not be just the EC doing the search process. And who exactly will be on the search committee is something we're still discerning about and trying to find out. But we have gathered a great deal of information, both through Pam and Sonia, as well as the work that we've done with our DEI consultants, Kathleen and Sterling. And they have given us a wealth of information to move over. We've also been looking historically back at what has happened in the past and trying to include that as we put this vision together to go forward. Sonia, Pam, Pat, or any other board member, if you want to add anything, please feel free.
I'd be happy to jump in for just a moment and emphasize that where Shalem is today is different than where Shalem was 10 years ago when Margaret joined. And we, the board and the staff, are fully recognizing that and embracing the opportunity to align the job description with what where the organization is, where the community is, and where Shalem sits kind of in the landscape. So we're really looking to do a lot of prep work before we start a search to make sure that we're clear what are the skills and abilities and relationships that the new ED will need to lead Shalem now and into the future.
Thanks, Sonia. And that highlights one of the most important first steps, of course, which is developing a job description. So the job description has not changed in the 10 years that Margaret has been with us. And I think it's fair to say the world has changed a great deal in the last 10 years, and Shalem has changed as well. And so this is a real opportunity for us to, again, take a deep breath and contemplate what are the spiritual gifts that we really need in an executive director? What are the gifts that can be in other staff members that we might add later? And what are the things that that we've done historically in the past that maybe we don't need to do in the same way going forward? I think of like the Gerald May lectures series that we used to have. There was a season for that was really well received, and then we entered into a time when we stopped doing it. And it's conceivable that we may be coming to a time when we need to do it again. So who knows? But all of that is the very rich tapestry that we're trying to survey as we reflect upon what we're called to do with this opportunity to call the next leader of Shalem. Amy?
Thank you, and thank you for hosting this. This is very helpful. I have a question about the DEI work and the specific goals or visioning that you have with regards to widening the table here at Shalem to be more inclusive of populations that have been underrepresented.
Sure. I'm going to let Pat jump in first because she is the board person who was liaison to the DEI work and give her an opportunity to respond first.
Sure, thank you, Jeff. What I'm really pleased about is both the organization and the board share a deep commitment to reaching more diverse populations by age, by geography, by personal lived experience, by race and ethnicity, more traditional definitions. And that was, obviously, as you know, begun with Margaret's leadership and with Jackson's work and initiating the consultation, the Trinity grant that brought funds and the opportunity to bring consultants. And there was really a deep process of reviewing partnerships in the DEI consultants. So I had the opportunity when I joined the board to attend the initial planning meetings with the consultants that were named, who are really wonderfully committed to working with us in this process. With the temporary, I wouldn't say it's a diversion, it's a re-emphasis of work of hiring a new ED. We want that to be part of how we identify this person because naming that as something that needs to be sustained and deepened in our next phase is something that's important to an emerging leader of this organization. What form it will take, we hope, will be a partnership between the new executive director, the staff, and the program leaders, as well as with the consultants in thinking that through. So I want to just emphasize the commitment and the fact that it's not a pause, it's actually a slowing at this point since the people involved are changing in an important way. But keeping that as a requirement that this will be sustained and this will be reflected in both the skills we hope that the new ED can bring to the organization as well as the strategic planning processes that would have to emerge from that. Does that help to answer some of your questions?
Thanks, Pat. I think the important thing to add to that too is that that work will be a major component in the search process itself because we are committed as a board to casting the net far and wide and to make sure that we are inclusive of gender, race, lived experience, sexuality in the search so that we can really be open to where the Holy Spirit is moving. So, but we're going to be talking a lot about that, I think, for the next couple of years as well. It's not something that's once and done. It's something that, as people of faith, we continually look to how we can make room for more people at the table. That's, I think, part of our mandate. So, I hope that was helpful, Amy.
Thank you very much.
I'm wondering, Lydia also, Mercado, who's a member
Oh,
of
is
the board.
Lydia here? I didn't see Lydia.
Committee.
Do you want to share anything, Lydia, about that? Because I know you're on that committee too.
I think that Pat covered it very well at this point. Yes, we we're including it in the search process, and it will be, we'll continue casting that lens. And certainly as we view, how Shalem is going to grow in new directions, that's going to be one way that we hope that we'll see the growth in the diversity of the programs and the people at the table as well.
Thank you, Lydia. I'm sorry I didn't see you on my screen. Now you're on my screen. I think Mark Goodwin had the next question. Sorry, it's late at night. Mark. Mark, I think you're still muted.
Good.
There we go.
Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
From what I've heard so far, I guess I have sort of a three-pronged question. Since it appears you all are still thinking through exactly what kind of characteristics you want in an executive director, and you haven't formed your full search committee yet. I'm wondering first what that means in terms of the timing at which you all expect that you're going to have a new executive director on board. And related to that, from what I just heard, I'm wondering, you mentioned something that, we haven't been doing the Gerald May seminar. You may be doing some additions, amendments to current programs, hope to broaden in some way, if I heard it right. I'm wondering, do you anticipate trying to hire, if you can answer this yet, a director who will be committed to, I'm not talking about one-time, once-a-year programs like Gerald May Seminar, but in terms of all our current long-term programs that we offer and pilgrimages, the ones that we tend to offer almost every year. Do you anticipate hiring a director or trying to who will continue these programs that have been thriving and prospering here at Shalem for many years, or at least during Margaret's tenure? And then I guess this next one, I don't know if you can answer this, any of you off the top of your head, but as I'm listening, it's making me wonder about something. And I do really appreciate the transparency that you all are trying to achieve with all of us. So I'll go ahead and ask it. I'm wondering what this means about our budget. The way you're going, what in terms of positives and also maybe potentially in terms of risks to our budget, what you're anticipating for the coming year. I imagine, because you're putting a lot of emphasis on the use of consultants through the last calendar year already, and then through at least the first half of this year, maybe longer, what that's meant, whether you've had to draw money out of the Shalem Fund to pay for these consultants, or whether just not having Margaret's salary for these upcoming months, whether that's balancing it all out. And then I'm wondering, under the financial procedures, of course, you have to develop a calendar. You have to develop at the end of this fiscal year, in the months of February, March, April, May, a budget for the next fiscal year, for fiscal year 2027. And how do you anticipate you're going to do that so that we don't fall off any in terms of our budget, our fundraising? Will we need more fundraising in order to achieve what you're anticipating? How can you build that budget for next year, given all these uncertainties?
All right. Well, we'll take the budget question last.
Okay.
That's a lot of ground to cover at once, but I'm going to let Pat have some time to think about answering that. But to begin with, I just want to say that yes, we are anticipating that we will be on target, hopefully to call the right person to be the executive director this coming summer. So what that means is we hope that we will launch the search formally in March. And that's why we've brought in the expertise of Sonia and Pam to work with us through this time. To the second question, in terms of programs, we are committed to maintaining the programs that Shalem is well known for and that they're doing well. We as a board, we just had a nominations committee meeting earlier this evening where we are reconfiguring the program committee and empowering that to help us do the work. They have not met for, I think, several years or hasn't been named for several years, I should say. And it is a requirement in the bylaws for that group to be in place. So we've been talking about what that will mean and how we can approach helping all of the programs work together, as well as empowering the new executive director to help us discern what new opportunities lie ahead of us. So look for more information about that down the road. But Pam, another board member, and I will be starting that process very soon in getting that going. With regards to Shalem's finances and this moment, yes, you are correct. I mean, not paying a salary right now does help us, but also to do the work that we do and to have the expertise that we have, that also is a fixed cost. I do want to say that I was very pleasantly surprised earlier today to receive an email from a longtime Shalem supporter who loves Shalem and loves the work that we've done, and who was so moved by what the board was doing and the vision that Pam and I have been able to share with her, that she made a $50,000 gift today for Shalem for this year. So I do think that we are doing the right things in putting together this program, in putting together this vision. But it is going to take some time, and it is going to take being true contemplatives and being open to listening to all of the Shalem community and the board together. I'll let Pat jump in now about the finances.
Sure. I think that's really important to what you just said, Jeff, is that um, there's both a contemplative purpose to move as we are with trust as we go forward, as well as a very rich foundation that has been laid over the last 10 years. And I, as treasurer, I'm very deeply appreciative to the work that Margaret and the entire Shalem staff devoted to fundraising and the financial foundation for the organization, because it allows us to have this breathing room in this space right now. But I just pulled up what I provided to the board as an update at our November retreat, because I thought you should know this. And we do have, it's that first of all, that we had an audit this past year that was because we exceeded the total amount of donations that the state required an audit on and off year. And the audit said that we had, with a clean opinion, there were no issues, and they commended our fiscal management and processes for monitoring the financial picture. What we have over $1.3 million in cash and another $2.6 million in investments, for a total of over $4 million right now. We have interviewed financial consultants to help us refresh the investment portfolio, and that's something that will be ongoing. So I think being good stewards of the finances we have is part of our work this year. But when you come down to it, you're right. We're in this transition period, and does that put our donations at risk? The good news is we looked at the November statements at the January Financial Committee meeting, and we found that we are on track compared to last year. So we have reporting monthly now that is monitoring projected and comparing us to last year, because we thought that would be the most sound way to track what might be the fluctuation during this transition year. And we can't know the future, but we can tell you that we're really monitoring it and actually very pleased that both the donations from the past year have matched what we have this year, and particularly with special gifts like Jeff mentions. The second point I would say, though, is we are aware, and Jackson Droney has helped us monitor this, that the uncertainty in the environment of the world today may influence who has the funds and the time and the space to join a program or to attend a pilgrimage. And these are unusual times. So that's another reality that we're monitoring, not just the ED transition, but that what our enrollment looks like in our usual high volume programs. Are they varying? And keeping a pulse with other organizations similar to us about what are they seeing in enrollment during this period of time. So there's a lot of moving pieces. So we're holding these in presence. We're also the beneficiaries of a remarkably strong foundation, and we're doing our utmost to be good stewards of that foundation and keeping it going.
Thanks, Pat. And I just want to echo what Pat said. I mean, we are very fortunate to have program directors in all of the different programs that we offer, people like Jackson who have built a real strong reputation in doing the program, and that helps promote and attract people to the program. But, part of the reason why this transparency is so important, the conversation we're having tonight, is we also rely on you as members of the society to help get the word out and to help encourage people to consider Shalem and know what Shalem has to offer. I do want to also say a huge thank you to Tatiana Bianame and as well as Dean Beverly, because both of them have been leading our development committee for the last year. And over the last few months of Margaret's tenure, they shadowed her with other members of the board to get to know our major donors and to begin to build relationships with them. I know I sat in on a meeting with you, Mark, and a few other people, and we are really intentional about keeping a strong connection to our major stakeholders, but we need the help of the society to help us promote the programs, because I think the largest thing that communicates to people our value is the word of mouth of people like you telling the story of Shalem and helping them to begin the process of discerning which program is right for them, which program has something to offer and to meet them where they are. And I know from other program directors as well as Jackson, sometimes people don't come initially to the program that they are recommended to, and sometimes it takes them a couple of years to be able to jump in and take part of it. But telling our story is really something we really rely on you to do. So thank you, Mark, and thank you, Pat. Over to you, Kevin. You've been waiting patiently out there in California with that beautiful horizon at your back. I think you're still muted, sir.
I am very grateful for the work that the board, the consultants, and everyone else has done as we go through this time of transition. I'm wondering what the model is that the board is seeing. Is Shalem going to be tweaked around the edges? Is there going to be a deep review of structure and processes and programs? And knowing the answer to that helps shape the nature, the personality and capabilities of the executive director. So, for example, I would assume, not knowing otherwise, that the assumption is keep things going. They're really going well. We have a proud history, decades of experience. And yes, we'll make some tweaks around the edges. That calls for one kind of director. I've served as an interim minister for 3 churches, and including one after a pastor had been in place for 27 years. So there is important work to do in looking deeply at mission, communities served, and changes in the world. So will you be looking for an executive director to act as a change agent or more as just a guardian, a champion for a fine institution?
Yes. And I don't mean to be silly or funny about it, but yes, that is exactly what we are engaged in talking about right now. Margaret worked tirelessly for Shalane. Margaret, I think, must have worked 60 to 80 hours a week. Margaret had her finger on development, and she had her finger on running several programs, and she had her finger on being the executive director and the staff and running the network and connecting with the Shalem Society. All of those kinds of things she did. I think as we are taking this contemplative pause in leadership, we're asking the question, what are the things that are most important for the executive director to embody? We certainly do not want to lose the foundation and the history and the legacy of Shalem. But we certainly recognize too that there is the possibility that all of the gifts that we need as an organization may not reside in one person. And we may, so identifying what are the essential gifts are really important, and identifying who we are as an organization is important so that we can begin to see how those will match. And that's the work that Sonia is doing in helping us do a deep introspection into who we are. And then also Pam looking at the organization and what we are doing so that we have the full picture, so that when we enter into the discernment for the next person, we can make sure that we're finding where the connections are and where the Spirit is leading us. So if Pam and Sonia, you want to add anything to that, please feel free.
Well, I'll take a moment. Kevin, I really appreciate the way you framed the question of, will the ED be a change agent or a guardian? And then Jeff said yes. I think anybody coming into an organization is going to bring a new perspective, a new way of thinking. I think by the very nature of a new voice, they're going to invite new questions, look at things differently. That in itself can lead to change. I don't believe Shalem needs to look for a change agent because there are so many things that are strong about Shalem, the programming, the finances, its reputation. So it's not an organization that needs to come in and pivot. So in that sense, I don't think change agent comes to the top of the list of criteria. And of course, I would expect a new executive to come in with a commitment to being good stewards of what they were inheriting, but also be able to think about what could be possible. So yes, I would I would say they're doing both, like Jeff. But I just didn't want people to think that changes that might come are coming from a place of or coming from a negative place. I think changes that will come will only build on what exists and be a very positive thing. And some have mentioned, the opportunities to reach new people, new communities with new kinds of programs in addition to the programs that already exist. So I'll stop there.
And if I may just add a word, I think of this person to Pam's point, it's not necessarily a change agent, but it's also not necessarily somebody who's committed to the status quo. I think it's somebody who can help Shalem evolve in ways that are aligned with the world and the community's needs at this time.
Yeah, and
All
I
your
think
answers.
that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I appreciate all of your answers.
Yeah, I was just going to add too, I think that the change agent is what Margaret did and what every executive director after Tilden has done, which is to look at the organization and look where the spirit is calling us and what are the opportunities. Certainly, we recognize the need for a younger generation to find Shalem, and what that may look like for them may be different than what older adults want from Shalem. And there's no reason why we can't do both, if that's what we're called to do. When I was, I mean, I've been a priest for almost 30 years, and I've served this congregation for 21 years, and I followed a man who was here for 20, and his predecessor was here for 30. And I think the most important quality for anybody coming in following a long tenure of 10 years or more is to be able to uh, recognize and celebrate what is going well. My pastoral theology professor said you have to treat an organization like you treat a checkbook, and everything you affirm is a deposit, and everything you change is a withdrawal. And you have to make sure that your withdrawals do not exceed your deposits. And so that's, I think, an important criteria for somebody coming into such a vibrant and healthy and strong organization like Shalem is somebody who's not going to make us in their image, but somebody who's going to be able to celebrate what we've done and also be able to um, help us see new vision and new opportunities for the contemplative movement to expand and go further. So. And I would direct you to Tatiana's comments in the chat as well. Her wisdom is always excellent, so I've come to rely on it on the board. We're very blessed to have her as our secretary. Anita.
As a one of the original Shalem Society leadership team, we were part of the transition between the elders leading the society and the rank and file leading the society. And I'm going to assume that as we did, that this process will also hold the wisdom. Shalem is so unique in that it has three people on this call who have been around from the beginning. And so I am assuming, and I just wanted to say it out loud, that their wisdom and they hold the deepest heart of who Shalem is. And I'm assuming that as you are consulting with us, that they are also a part of this process, because I consider that to be invaluable.
Thank you, Anita. I do as well. I've known Carol Crumley since 1987. When I came to live in Washington, D.C. at the Cathedral Volunteer Service Community that she was running, and she introduced me to Shalane, and she's a dear friend, and I've had several calls with her to seek her knowledge and her wisdom. I was also invited to meet with the elders early on in my tenure as president, and as well as to talk to other folks within the Shalem community, and I really value those, especially for those who sought me out. And I believe Pam is going to meet with the elders this coming weekend, so we certainly realize the great gift and treasure that we have in folks who've been long time engaged with Shalem. And Tilden Edwards is he's a member of our congregation here at St. Peter's during the summer, and his wife is buried in my cemetery. So I think the world of him, and he got me into Winston Charles's clergy program. So I greatly value the mentorship and knowledge that is in the Shalem community, and we want to hold on to that. So. Nan.
I also want to thank the board and the staff and really the society folks as well for just the work that's been done and the community that we have. I'm really grateful for that. I'm kind of curious about how you are envisioning the relationship between the board and the new ED, and are you seeing this as a more of an executive director-led organization or a board-led organization, or what you might comment on relative to that structurally?
Sure. Nan, that's why Sonia has been such a gift to us, because one of the things that she helped us identify early on is the transition over the 50 years that the board has made, from a small organization that was like a mom and pop nonprofit where people just pitched in and did the work, to now an organization with a much broader reach. And we have wanted to begin intentionally in identifying the exact role of the board. And to that end, Sonia did a great training with us at our March retreat last year, and helped us begin to identify the current realities of what are the legal responsibilities as a board, and what a board is supposed to be and what a board is not supposed to be, and how healthy relationships can be built with the executive director and the board. I should say, in the spirit of full disclosure, my wife has her doctorate in that, and it is a great gift to be sleeping with a consultant who has considerable expertise. In fact, right now she's away at the National Nonprofit Association meeting in I don't know, Tennessee somewhere. I forget where she flew to. I think it's Tennessee. But we're really trying to update that and make sure that we are following time-tested best practices to build in health in the organization. If we hire an executive director and they leave within the first year, then we will have failed. And so in order to do that, it's not just a quest for finding the right person. It is also a quest to build the organization in the right way so that we can receive this person and hit the ground running, because we are who we said we were, and we have identified the person that we need to have in place. So Sonia, do you want to add to that, or have I done you justice or
I
not?
think you've done great justice, and I would just add the word partnership. I think the ideal is a partnership between the board and the executive director, and leading together. I think Shalem is at a state of evolution that would be the optimal relationship.
Thank you. I'll be curious to just watch this unfold. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I won't lie to you, it's a lot. And most of the members of the board are working full time, and they are dedicating their time and energy to Shalem at this pivotal moment, because it is a real labor of love and a real deep appreciation for what Shalem has meant to us individually in our lives. And so it's just been a gift to be with all of these folks.
We need to give a shout out to you, Jeff, for your graciousness. And I finally put two and two together. Jeffrey Ross of St. Peter's, Louis. Finally, it took 45 minutes for me to figure that out. But anyway, definitely you have a full-time day job. And what you're doing here with us tonight It's getting on to the pumpkin hour, I'm sure for you too. Probably have a sermon or two to write for Sunday. And I just want to give a shout out of thanks for your graciousness and for your generosity and your love of Shalem.
Thank you, Linda. I do love Shalem very much. Thank you, June, for your comment and the quote and the chat, and for everyone else. Any other questions? I'm putting into the chat right now my email address, and I again, as in every communication I've sent, I want you to know that I'm happy to talk to you. Please reach out and let me know if you have questions or concerns at any point along the way. And not just me, I know other members of the board are very willing to talk to you. Again, we have a tremendous gift in the leadership of the board. Pat Franklin has just done a fabulous job this past year with our finances. Tatiana is just fantastic as our secretary and also leading our development committee. And Jahan, who couldn't be with us this evening as our vice president, has just been a pastor really to the board and helping us stay in sync and prayerfully present with each other. So we haven't sent Pam and Sonia screaming for the hills, so that's a very good sign. And we also are deeply appreciative of Jackson and the staff and their dedication and their commitment to Shalem. I know that it hasn't been easy, during this last year as we've gone through this transition. But I know that they know that we love Shalem and that we're all trying to strengthen the organization as we move forward in this new time that we're coming to. And after we've had some time for some deep cleansing breaths, we will be ready to embrace the person that God has led to us. So Pam, you had your hand up.
Sorry, it sounded like you were gonna move us to end, and I just wanted to make a couple of announcements, and I don't know if now's the time.
Now's good for me.
Okay. Just make you aware that we have added a page on our website specific to the executive search executive director recruitment process. We'll be posting updates. The video from this gathering will be posted there. So that is a place where you could look for more information if you had a question. The other thing is we're going to be hosting a series of town halls in February, inviting small groups of people to come in and respond to some specific questions about priorities and characteristics and vision and things like that. Sonia Stam will be facilitating those. So they'll be advertised in the e-newsletter that comes out every other Friday. So just pay attention to that if you have an interest. There's space for 16 people in each session. So we're trying to keep them smaller so we can have more dialogue. Thank you.
And if I can add one comment to that, as a search consultant, I spent a decade in retained executive search. I've spent a couple decades working with nonprofit boards around leadership transition. And I'm always asked, where's the magic? And people think the magic is in the search, but the magic is in what happens before and after. And this is the before part, as are the town halls, as are all the opportunities for the Shalem community to share their voices and inform the job description, the criteria, the direction of the organization. So thank you all for being here and participating.
Thank you, Pam and Sonia. I don't see any other hands up. So perhaps we can take some time for silence and then we'll I'll close us with a prayer for this evening. So thank you all for your love of Shalem and for your commitment to being here tonight and for your candid questions, and most of all, for your prayerful support. We desperately need your prayers through this time of transition. And we desperately want to hear from you every step of the way. So please, if you have a thought or concern, don't hesitate to reach out to me or any of the members of the board. So now we'll just take a moment of silence and then I'll close us with a prayer. Keep watch, dear Lord, with those who work or watch or weep this night, and give your angels charge over those who sleep. Tend the sick, Lord Christ. Give rest to the weary. Soothe the suffering. Pity the afflicted. Shield the joyous. Guard the dying. And all for your love's sake. God bless Shalem. Bless our staff and our program directors. Bless all of the members of the Shalem community, especially the Shalem Society, and help us to continue to strive to be a blessing to this world in these most troubled days. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Peace, everyone, and thank you again.